The revolution was over, and British General Guy Carleton did not mince words as he sat across from General George Washington, explaining the British government's position that every enslaved black man, woman, and child born in colonial America was a British subject and entitled to his protection. General Carleton believed his duty was to uphold the English rule of law and their promises. And Washington, ever the diplomat, listened, but his unease was palpable. For America, the return of these black people to their former masters was a matter of economy and maintaining the fragile social order that bound the 13 states together. Further, Washington knew that the success of this new nation needed the labor of enslaved black people, particularly in the South. And now, as Carleton proclaimed them all to be British subjects and entitled to liberty, he saw the foundations of that order begin to crack. As Carleton spoke, he was resolved. It would be a breach of faith, he said firmly, to abandon these people now. He also reminded Washington of the fact that colonial slave codes and Negro laws were abolished in 1766, memorialized in our Declaration of Independence's grievance section and the promises made by Lord Dunmore and his predecessor, General Clinton, promises of freedom for enslaved black colonials without qualifications. These promises were kept throughout the war, and Carleton would see they were honored even in peace. Washington, torn between the ideals of the Revolution and the grim realities of the new nation's reliance on black slavery, could do little but listen in frustration. Carleton requested that Washington relay the substance of this meeting to the American Congress, stating that this British commander, guided by English law, did not view enslaved colonial blacks as property owned by American citizens, and instead they were Englishmen by law. And Carleton made clear that he intended to repatriate all black colonials to British soil. However, if doing so was found to violate the terms of the Treaty of Paris, Britain would pay compensation, which was how he framed it. To provide for the possibility, Carleton and Washington each agreed to keep separate registries called the Book of Negroes, listing their names, ages, and occupations, along with the names of their former masters, so that the owners might eventually be paid for the slaves who were not entitled to their freedom by British proclamations and promises. The idea was simple. If these black people were deemed property by law, their lawful owners would one day be compensated. Having announced the British imperial government's policy and position that all former enslaved blacks were British subjects entitled to liberty by English law, and that any legal dispute would be resolved before a court of proper jurisdiction. But knowing the treaty was yet to be ratified by Congress, and in concluding that nothing could be settled presently, Carleton adjourned the meeting. Washington reported back to the Congress, while Carleton issued a direct order to his forces: remain on duty until every man, woman, and child who wanted to leave the United States is safely moved to British soil. Because of Carleton's firm stance, the U.S. employed surreptitious tactics of detention, coercion, and deception to hinder the mass exodus of black colonials to British ships. As a result, when the British finally withdrew on November 28, 1783, only 3,000 out of 500,000 enslaved black colonials managed to gain passage. The 3,000 escapees were transported for resettlement in Nova Scotia, the Caribbean, and England, and the unlucky ones were relegated to generational slavery and exploitation in the United States and denied fundamental due process of law. Please share and visit our website at Wells Center on American Exceptionalism and look for future videos.